Working on the $3,500 Duramax. We have a stock harmonic balancer here with just the one single pin. We're going to try to do one of those horizontal pins through here. I don't have the special bracket that you can get. They're back ordered. I don't want to wait on it. I want to get this truck up and running. You don't have to lift the cab for this. You might have to pull the radiator. We're going to give it a shot here. So I have the harmonic balancer washer off, and in my vise there's the bolt for it. We're going to drill a hole in that harmonic balancer right on the line where the edge of the harmonic balancer and the crankshaft meet. I'll show you over here. So over here on this here harmonic balancer washer, we can see this distinct line where the harmonic balancer and then the crankshaft is. We're going to drill a hole dead center on that line. Probably not going to be able to video it. I've got just a drill and a bit, a 16/64 bit or 15/64 bit. Anyways, I'll cut back after I get it drilled. Okay, so we see here it drilled very easily. Nice soft metal. Basically all we're doing is we're just building a jig like the one they sell. This one won't be hardened steel. It'll just be this whatever metal this washer is made out of. And this will guide our drill bit into the perfect spot between the crankshaft and the harmonic balancer. And then we'll be able to just simply turn this washer, clock it to a different position after we get that metal rod inserted into this hole. And that will hold the metal rod in without risking it falling out. And this washer will not be hurt, I don't think, by doing this, since we're right on the shear line there. That little hole is not going to affect to any significant level the integrity of this washer. So we got our hole drilled, got the bolt in, and I want this pin to be approximately 180 degrees from the keyway on the crank with the factory pin in there. So I'm going to just estimate. I know this is about 530 position right here. So I'm going to put this in here at about 11:30 position, almost 12 o'clock. And I want this to be nice and tight. I don't want it to slip or spin. So I'll tighten it up to about, I don't know, 40-50 foot-pounds. It doesn't have to be as tight as you would normally tighten it down. Like I said, I want this at about the 11:30 position here. I'll throw a socket on that and get it snugged up. There, just enough to start to spin the engine over. Nothing serious. As you can see, we're now dead 12 o'clock, so a good reference point, but that's just because the crank spun a tiny bit. If you do that, make sure your rag doesn't get pulled into the gears. Mine didn't spin far enough to do so, but I'm going to grab the drill and we'll see how this goes. Can't see it in there probably on the camera, but I can see halfway through the hole is the edge of the crankshaft, or the harmonic balancer edge, so I think it'll work pretty good. Give it a shot and update you. So we start here, give it a shot of your favorite penetrating oil right in that hole there. I like to use Croil, I mean whatever penetrating oil you prefer. And I think the best bet is to gonna hit this at a pretty fast speed and just try to let it eat until we get into two equal materials. Kind of worried about breaking the bit off, but let's see how it goes. Keep it lubed up. Can't have too much oil in there. My battery is dying. And I'm just going to go in about an inch. I want to get about a 3/4 inch pin in there, so about an inch of depth. You know, we're pretty close there. I'm going to call that good. And now let's see what we got here. Again, what we're hoping for is that small hole to be perpendicular to the crankshaft, basically cutting a circular keyway into the crankshaft and the harmonic balancer in one fell swoop. So, see how we did here. Looking pretty good, actually. There. As we can see, cut it in halfway in the crankshaft and halfway in the harmonic balancer. We're still about 1/2 inch from the end of the harmonic balancer, so we won't have any risk of oil leaks and stuff. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, and then we'll go about making a pin to fit in that. Alright, so back again with the solution. I want to say before I do this, if you don't have the tools I do, I have one of those little cheapo micro lathes from Harbor Freight. You could simply take a little bolt this size and just get one with a longer shoulder and cut the shoulder section out of it and use that for a pin, just a grade 5. I wouldn't personally use anything harder than a grade 5, just because I'd rather sacrifice that bolt than the harmonic balancer or the crankshaft. But you could use the shoulder off of a bolt and just drill an appropriate size hole for that. What I did is I took a piece of heavy gauge wire or steel bar, like for like a oven rack or something, kind of that kind of thing, but I believe this is actually a headlight pin off of one of these trucks, an old headlight pin steel bar, and I chucked it in the lathe and sent 1 1/8 of bar to the correct size. So as you can see here, it now fits in there. Not really any play, but still a slide fit. You know, I don't want it to fit too tight. I still want to be able to pull this balancer off if ever I need to. So we want to be able to suck this pin out with a magnet like they show with the Carlisle kit. So I got my pin now. All I got to do, it goes in there all the way to the shoulder that I machined. I'm going to cut this off right here on that shoulder, and then we'll have our pin ready to slide in there, and we'll be done. That's how you pin the flywheel, harmonic balancer, whatever you want to call it, on the LBZ Duramax. I'm pretty sure this works on any year Duramax. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of difference from all the way from probably 03 or 04, whenever Duramax has started having this issue, all the way up until I think like 14 or 15, 2015 maybe, somewhere in there. I'm not a know-it-all on these Duramaxes, but I do know they have this issue. Wanted to fix it, didn't have the kit, couldn't order the kit, so I made my own, and it worked great. And like I said, I'll just, after this pin is in there, all that's going to happen is this washer is going to be clocked to a different position. That thing gets tightened down to like 250 foot-pounds. I know it's a foot-pounds and then a degree of turn afterwards, but it equivalates to somewhere around 250 foot-pounds. This washer is not going to spin to a place where, and if it does, we got other issues, I guess. But it's not gonna let that pin slip out by no means. I guess if you wanted to, you could order a new washer and just replace the washer and keep this as a jig, basically to make your own kit. But this thing, all it cost me was about 10 minutes of my time, and yeah, other than that, it was free. So yeah, free way to pin your harmonic balancer to your crankshaft on an LBZ. Not too bad, especially if you're in here anyways doing the trusty known to fail water pump. Anyways, that's all. Decided to add one more clip here just to show how it's going to work. Make sure it's pretty clear. So all that happens is that little pin goes in there all the way. As you can see, it's below flush on the harmonic balancer, so it's not going to interfere with torque or anything. We got our bolt right here. and we know our pin is at 12 o'clock position approximately. I also don't want my hole in the balancer to be, or in this washer, to be over the other keyway, just so I don't get any dust in there. So we're just going to put it about right there, and then when we torque that thing down, it is not going to move. This washer is going to be the last thing to move. If anything moves, that's the last thing to move, pretty much. So that pin has no way out. That harmonic balancer hole isn't going to hinder anything. And actually what I'm planning on doing is putting a little dab of RTV silicone on the back side of that hole, just in case, you know, anything, you know, I don't want dust building up in there or moisture or anything getting in there. This bolt isn't sealed anyways, but for the sheer pressure and stuff, so I might as well just retain that seal, put a little bit of RTV in there, and just make sure that that seal doesn't, you know, get compromised in case it's there for anything. There's obviously no pressure behind that bolt as far as oil pressure, water pressure, anything. There should be no fluids there. But it is something to be aware of. You don't want moisture building up in there and rusting this thing onto the crankshaft by no means. So I'm going to seal that hole up just to keep everything out of there, and then call it good after that. As we can see here, I got it sealed up with high temp RTV. Not because you need to use high temp, but just because that's what was open. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to shave it off with a razor blade, and then when I torque it down, it'll just be a plugged hole. So, yep, that's how I did it.